facing a team that's very good at running the
Sure.
football. And how do you change your kind of approach going into a game like this where you're probably going to get the ball pounded on the ground a lot?
Sure. Challenge our guys. There's an intangible piece to it. There's a physical piece to it. There's a willingness, a competitiveness to win your gap, to get off blocks, to make plays, and then there's a scheme piece to it. They're percentage-wise, obviously statistically, they're a run football team first. They're big, they're physical up front. They have elite college football running backs, so scheme will be a piece of it, but it's a challenge. The quarterback, Fromm, does a wonderful job of getting them into the right plays, even post-snap, post getting the play call in, getting them in the correct plays, running in the right direction, managing the game. When they do go play action, he manages the game very well, but getting him in the right place. So pre-snap disguise to get us in the best schematics possible, executing those plays, and then there's a physical willingness. We are where we are in terms of size, in terms of body types, in terms of them having a size advantage. So as always, we have to be creative in our scheme, and we've got to have a willingness and a toughness and a competitiveness to it. There is no secret. There's not a perfect defense. There's not a perfect scheme to stop every play. A lot of it will be play makeability and fighting and toughness and intangibles.
What has Jordan Dominic done to get where he was now from where he was in the beginning of the season?
Sure, stayed the course. I'm sure you guys are probably tired of the word developmental program, but wow, he's a great example of that. I mean, he really is. On the developmental team for quite a while, and then the last couple of weeks has given us a burst. He's been fresh, giving us a burst in the second half of the season, and he has shown play makeability. We've got guys that are fighting, that are playing hard. We're rotating guys in and out, but he's been one of those that have given us play makeabilities. Obviously, congratulations to him being ACC Defensive Player of the Week, Defensive Lineman of the Week. He had production, and then he made big plays, tackles for loss, negative plays, disruptive plays, or what we asked those guys to do. Obviously, maybe one of the linchpins of the game. He goes on a 4th and 1, the first drive, and gets a TFL on the goal line stop. After Dave and the offensive crew went down and scored a touchdown on the first drive. And then that momentum, we really rode the wave in the first half, and that was a big piece of it. He was a big piece of that first half wave and momentum off of that one singular play. So proud of him. He stayed the course. Things were tough at one point in the season for him. Kids are very invested in our program, but there's a human nature piece to practicing and preparing, and you fight your tail off, and then you're not getting the reward of as many reps in the game, and he stayed the course. Now he's getting those opportunities, and he's been one of our best playmakers on defense in the second half of the season, so very proud of his progress and his development.
I know you touched up a minute ago on Jake Fromm, but can you go a little bit more in depth about like the type of problems that he and his set of receivers can cause that maybe you haven't seen in previous games?
Sure. They have an identity, right? They have an identity. I think they would stand up there and say they're going to control the football, meaning not allow the defense to take it away. They're going to rely on their dominant defense. They are not Oklahoma Sooners. They're not going to spread you out and throw the football around and go tempo and try to run 100 plays in a game. They're going to control the football. So when you have a smart, cerebral, veteran quarterback, he can have composure. He can get them in the right calls. So again, what I mean when they say that, they'll get in a set. Oftentimes they will have a run or pass option. They will have a run option based off the look or the presentation that we give them. He's very accurate at getting them in the correct plays. Even guys that played in last season's game, they're like, Coach, we're lining up, we're showing, we're trying to disguise. All of a sudden, he's checking to where we're bringing pressure from and running away from that pressure. He's got a very mature approach, very NFL kind of mindset, scheme, and then brain to be able to do that. So, and then there's just the composure, the maturity. You don't see him get rattled. Even when they've been in a lot of tough football games, they've been in a lot of close football games, and he just plays very composed, very mature young man. And then he doesn't turn the ball over, right? College football oftentimes becomes a momentum game. We are desperately trying to find ways to create takeaways. He does a very good job of securing the football, managing the game. Even when they have to punt, it's okay. They rely on their defense to play really, really hard, and has oftentimes given them the ball back. And then they, want to be composed and wear you down as you get going in the game running the football. Big up front. So the longer the game goes, the more they've leaned on people. And I believe even the last 2 weeks, they've kind of run out the clock in a 4-minute situation, just running the football at the end of the game and putting it to bed. But he's able to manage all those things. And then you just can't discount experience. We're on a defense where we're trying to create experience and playing time for guys, and he's got it. And he's played a bunch of downs for them in big-time situations. So we'll expect his best effort, and he's a tough preparer.
I imagine it's difficult. You started with and played most of the game with 3 redshirt freshmen and a walk-on your defensive line,
Sure.
and to win the point of attack and win how difficult has it been for you just to scheme your defense this year, given the kind of inexperience and the lack of body types and bodies you've had up front, just to kind of get to what you can do and what you want to do defensively?
Well, Kelly, we see it as an opportunity. I'm kidding. It's man, we talked about it from day one. We have an above the line depth chart. Everybody has to prepare. We have a developmental program, and what a season where it's come to fruition, where we've had to rely on so many guys. Obviously, everybody in the country has an attrition. It is not an excuse. It is not a crutch. It's next man up mentality. I know you guys know all the adages, but it's been real this year. Again, we are rotating guys in and out. We are trying to keep them fresh. So although we don't have size, also we don't have the elite of the elite at that position, they're playing really hard. We had came back this previous week. We were displeased with our Virginia Tech mentality going into the first half. The biggest thing that our guys are doing is they're playing really hard. You saw that at NC State. We let go of the rope as a defense a little bit in the second half, but the way that we came out, our mentality, our edge, our competitiveness, it gave us a chance. You know what I mean? And again, we're not going to overwhelm people with a wave of talent. So we have to out-effort people. We have to have toughness. We have to have intangibles. We have to have a scheme piece. So I'm not answering your question in terms of the scheme piece of it. We've had to have, what's our base defense? What can they run at a high level? What can they feel confident about? How can they execute? Sometimes we have been outmanned in certain scheme pieces, so we've had to move pieces around. A lot of people in the country can behave just elite of the elite size and players, and they can have a base defense. They can sit in it. They can fit the run, and then they can get to their third down packages. We've had to be very creative. We've had to move quite a bit. We've had to have multiple position changes and just not use it as an excuse, to be quite honest with you. It's not an excuse. Our guys go out and they play really hard, and they enjoy the creativity and the different game plan every week and work our tail off.
Time for a few more for Coach Thacker. We'll start with Tori.
Going off of that, I think Coach Collins just said that 90% of the guys making the tackles this year are coming back. And even with the injuries and kind of with everything that y'all have had to go through, what sense do you get that the growing pains that y'all are probably experiencing a little more now, maybe in a year, 2 years, is kind of going to be maybe not obsolete, but
Sure.
in a sense looking a little better?
Sure. I've always said one of the most valuable things for these guys is experience. So, again, I know I'm supposed to stay on message, and everything is about this week. And then as long as our guys are in the building, that's all we're thinking about. That's all we're preaching to them, and that's all we're working on. But to take a deep breath and just for 1 second to reflect at some point, all those opportunities that they've had to get real game time experience, you can't replace it. So you can go through 1,000 drills and mat drills and morning drills and Mondays and Januaries and Februaries and get them up early in the morning and put them through stressful situations, but you can't replace game reps. So all of the guys that we'll have coming back on the roster and that have had these experience, even through the bad times, and of course we've had some good times this year, they'll be better football players. They'll be more mature. They'll be more composed when they're in this situation, and then they'll just get bigger, faster, stronger. They'll naturally develop. And then if we had the luxury of playing juniors and seniors, they're going to look different, right? Just naturally over the development of an 18 to 22-year-old kid. So we can't discount it. We're excited about that piece of it, but certainly focused on this week.
Curious, as someone who grew up in the state, kind of what were your allegiances growing up, and what do you remember about this rivalry?
Yeah, this will be fun. So Thanksgiving, Coach will let us get home for Thanksgiving. We'll get together. I'm from Georgia, so I'll have an opportunity to see a bunch of my family. My sister's a Georgia grad. My brother-in-law's a Georgia graduate. My mom went to graduate school at Georgia, so that'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah, all the ribbings, all the just smart butt comments. We've been rooting for you all year except for this one. and I'll smile and roll. My eyes will roll into the back of my heads, and I'll enjoy time with my family. But yeah, no, I came in the room right when Coach Collins was being asked that question. But this is something as a kid growing up in the state I looked forward to all year. You know, it was this rivalry. I have so many great memories. I never attended a game growing up. How about that? At Georgia or Georgia Tech. But yeah, I mean, it was just, to Coach's point, it had so many national implications so many times as to conference championships and what elite bowl games that they would be going to. And obviously that's what we're looking forward to get back to as we move forward in the future. We're not in that place right now based off our record and where we are at the end of the season, but getting back to those moments and those type of stakes. But just such an unbelievable rivalry. To me, it was, you got all the in-state rivalries. This is the one growing up as a kid. So very excited to be on the sideline and be a part of it. I've had a couple of, there's some neat moments in this career, still relatively young in this career. It'll be one of those moments where I'll take a step back and I'll pinch myself and be a part of the Georgia Tech rivalry. Sorry if that sounded cheesy. If I'm not going to be uncomposed, I'm not going to be overwhelmed, but just appreciative of the moment. There's one other moment. I was working for the Atlanta Falcons. It was a Monday night football game. We were playing at Lambeau Field on a Monday night football game, and it was snowing in pregame warm-ups, and there was Aaron Rodgers and the crew and Matt Ryan and Julio and the crew. And I stood back and I pinched myself, and just very appreciative of those moments that you're able to be a part of, being a part of something bigger than yourself in those moments. So I think it'll be one of those situations, and then obviously as the stakes get higher and higher and higher and higher, we'll continue to enjoy those moments and just so appreciative to be a part of it.
Last one right here next to Ken.
Coach, you alluded to it earlier where you talk about, there's no such thing as a perfect defense and whatnot. But coming into this game, even though Georgia offense has its struggles, it has seemed to find success when they get particularly into the red zone. Ultimately, what can you guys do defensively to keep them out of the red zone and force them to take long field goals, or just pretty much keeping them out of the red zone?
Sure. Statistics have been varying this year for us. Red zone has been one of our better statistics relative to others. You can get more aggressive. So obviously the field becomes more horizontal, less vertical. You're less worried about shots and things being thrown over your head. So you can get more aggressive in those situations. The other things that so many teams do, they go for it on freaking fourth down when you get down there in college football. Georgia has a little more of an NFL mentality. Unless if it's a 4th and inch, they'll take the field goal and they'll go play good defense and sustain the game. So that's a way that you can quite literally in college football, field goals, holding them to field goals, are stops down there because they are such a high premium. But we can get more aggressive. Obviously, again, less worried about being stressed vertically, get more horizontal, and then be more aggressive by approach and by scheme in those moments.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks so much.